Good evening, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. It's 3:30. Okay. I didn't know his name, though. I mixed up all of them, Robbie. I'm sorry. Is that yours there? It is 3:30, time to begin a special call meeting this afternoon, and we'll call ourselves to order. The first thing, look at the package I laid on your desk. I may have mixed up the names on them.
I got mine down.
If your names are not correct, we'll get them swapped out. I'm sorry, I just laid them down.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to item 1, the zoning map amendment request to rezone property located at intersection of East Avenue. You want to call it Chris Allen this?
Actually, Mayor, I can go ahead and
Okay.
deal with a quick thing. We've spoken with the applicant, and there's been a request due to some other factors. They would like to ask us to table consideration of this item without further advertising until the January 11, 2022 meeting of council.
Okay,
So
And
if
why?
that would-
Excuse me, why?
There are some issues, where they are working through some issues with adjacent property owners. I think it's fair to say.
okay.
And they would like to complete that before coming to you all.
And they're positive that will be resolved by January 11th?
Yes, because there is also an issue of contracts for further work that will be done on the land, so it needs to be resolved by that point. Is that fair to say? Brittany Lynch is the applicant for the attorney for the applicant, and she is nodding that yes, that will be what they need to do.
Council have any other questions? If not, hear a motion.
So moved.
Have a motion, second, all in favor? Okay, that will go till January the 11th, I believe you said. Okay, item 2,
Was that a yes or a no from you?
everyone.
You seem to call for the
Was it
nays
no,
as well.
Okay.
I think it's unanimous.
All in favor? Any opposed? Hearing none, that passes. January 11th. Okay.
So just so anyone,
Yeah.
Mayor, anyone who is here for the rezoning of the properties at the intersection, located at the intersection of East
Avenue.
and Stafford Street Extension,
Yes.
that matter is now going to be considered in January, on the January 11, 2022 meeting of council.
Okay.
Without further advertising. It will not be heard today.
It will not be discussed today.
No?
All right, any other? Okay.
Well, that affects 2, I guess, is that correct?
That doesn't affect number 2, no, sir.
Okay. Okay, item 2, we're going on Union County Economic Development Interlocal Agreement Extension. I recognize Chris Patay at this time, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mayor, Council, Interim Manager Bourne, it's my pleasure to bring before you tonight a request to extend the interlocal agreement between Monroe and Union County. In June of 2021, we extended the interlocal agreement so that we had time to form the new Economic Development Commission. That commission was approved by you as well as the county, with the organization officially starting January 1st, but for a lot of the administrative things to be sorted out starting in July 1. So with that, what we did in June was only extend for 6 months. What we're asking for now is just to extend the operational funding by both parties through the end of this fiscal year. Shouldn't be a fiscal budgetary issue. We already had the full year budgeted. And so we're just asking for that extension. Union County has already approved this extension.
Motion to extend the current interlocal agreement through June 30th, 2022.
Have a motion, second, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that'll pass. Thank you,
Thank you.
Chris. Now we'll go to item 3, hearing on recommendation of the matter related to payment claims and against individual council members. I'll recognize Brian Bourne at this time.
All right, thank you, Mayor.
Mayor, before Mayor, the interim city manager begins, in accordance with section 168-75 of the general statutes, Councilmember James, as this item involves a consideration of your own financial interest, you may advise if you wish to recuse yourself from voting on this item.
Yes.
You do wish to recuse yourself? Thank you. Mayor, just so noting that Councilmember James will not be voting on the item.
All right,
Thank you, Councilmember James.
Mr. Barnes.
All right. Tonight, City Council is asked to hold a public hearing on my recommendation to not defend or pay any amounts due related to individual claims against Councilmember Angelia Nicole James that arose following incidents that took place on September 9th and 10th and after. On August 3rd, 1993, the Monroe City Council approved a resolution of the Monroe City Council establishing uniform standards under which claims or civil judgments sought or entered against the city officers and employees shall be paid. Under the resolution, the city feels obligated to defend such officers and employees and to satisfy any claims or judgments against such officers or employees to the extent provided herein in the facts and circumstances given rise to the claim or suit show that the officer or employee was engaged in the good faith performance of their duties on behalf of the city and the incident giving rise to the claim occurred. In this case, on October 20th, 2021, the city attorney and myself received a letter from attorney Thomas Leitner Jr. representing Captain Rhett Boland, Lieutenant Nick Brummer, Sergeant Adam Craig, Officer Kendall Acoff, and Officer Reagan Broom. The October 20, 2021 letter detailed potential claims against the city and Councilmember James in both her representative and individual capacities surrounding the incidents of September 9th and 10th, 2021 and after. On November 4th, 2021, I sent Councilmember James a letter noting that the city received the letter from Attorney Leitner and that an investigation of the facts and circumstances in accordance with the resolution had taken place. Accordingly, I advised Councilmember James that I would make the following recommendations to the City Council. 1. To the extent any claims are related to Councilmember Angelia Nicole James' actions in a representative capacity as a member of the Monroe City Council, the representative claims will be subject to coverage, if available, from the city's liability insurance carrier, the Interlocal Risk Financing Fund of North Carolina. Number 2, to the extent any claims are related to Councilmember Angelia Nicole James' actions in the individual capacity, the City of Monroe will not defend any claims in her individual capacity or pay any claim or judgment related to any matters related in her individual capacity. This includes the retention of an attorney on her behalf. This recommendation is supported as Councilmember James, A, acted or failed to act because of actual fraud, corruption, or actual malice, in that your statements were made with knowledge that the statements were false or with reckless disregard of whether the statements were false or not. B, acted or failed to act as a result of or at a time when her judgment was substantially impaired, namely due to her alleged fatigue and or any potential issues related to any possible mental illness. And C, acted or fails to act in such manner as to constitute a criminal act, specifically her potential assaults against Captain Boland and Officer Acoff. I request City Council conduct a hearing in accordance with the August 3rd, 1993 resolution of the Monroe City Council establishing uniform standards under which claims or civil judgments sought or entered against the city officers and employees shall be paid, and make a decision on my recommendation in reference to the September 9th and 10th, 2021 incidents and the actions after of Councilmember James to deny providing payment of claims or a defense on claims relate to Councilmember James's individual capacity.
Mayor, just one clarification. The interim city manager did note it was a public hearing. This is not a public hearing, it is a hearing before council. And I believe it would be fair to say that the interim city manager has presented the city's position. So at this point in time, it would be appropriate for you to ask and allow Councilmember James, if she wishes to present any information, facts or evidence related to this recommendation to you for consideration. And then following that, you may ask the interim city manager if he has anything, any response, and then you can make the decision as you deem appropriate.
Okay.
So did we in the hearing?
It is a hearing, but it's not a public hearing. It is a hearing that council conducts. So what has happened is the interim city manager presents his position. Councilmember James can present her position or defense if she wishes. And then if there is a presentation, the interim city manager then makes a response. And then it will be up to you to determine what you wish to do. This is in accordance with the resolution. This is not, I know, been used in at least 7.5 years, and I do not recall, I'm not aware of if it has been used since 1993, but it is done in accordance with state law that allows payment or a council to make a decision related to defense of employees and officers, including city council members.
I have a question. So is this the hearing that we spoke about at the previous meeting, or this is a separate?
No, sir, this is not at all the A motion hearing.
Okay.
This is a hearing that is solely related
To
with respect to the claims that Attorney Leitner is potentially bringing on behalf of his clients, whether or not the city would provide the defense and pay any sums owing related to those claims or anything else.
Okay.
So hypothetically, at this point, we don't know if a claim is gonna actually, be filed or not.
No, we know that one is going to be filed, it just hasn't been filed. But because the way the resolution is worded, it requires that once the city manager is aware of the potential claims, he is then to conduct the investigation and make a recommendation. And then you would need to act upon it.
So this is an investigation.
No, the investigation has already been completed. The manager is required to investigate the facts and circumstances. That can be whatever investigation suits the manager. He has made a determination and a recommendation that because of the 3 items he lays out that are drawn from the resolution as well, that his recommendation is to not provide a defense or pay any sums owing related to individual claims. Now, with respect to representative claims in her capacity as a city council member, that would be paid as normal, but this is related solely to any individual claims.
I need to paraphrase for
Yes, ma'am.
myself so I know that I understand. Any actions taken while she's acting, doing city council duties, she's covered.
Yes, ma'am,
Any actions, any personal actions, she's not.
that's correct.
I need
But-
this to be clear.
And in this case, we have been advised by her attorney, not her attorney, but by the attorney for the officers, that they would be pursuing claims in both the representative and individual capacities. That is why we are coming to you, or that's why the manager has handled his duty under the resolution and brought to you the recommendation that you are holding the hearing on.
You understand that?
Yeah, this needs to be continued for 90 days.
Oh, let me say this first, and I'll hear you. Okay, Councilman James, do you have anything related to this you'd like to say?
Yes, this needs to be continued for 90 days.
Mayor and council, if you wish to continue with that, it's your decision. However, that would affect any potential claims raised in that period of time. If a lawsuit is filed, one of the first things we do is we make sure we then find out what the league would provide coverage for. And we have been told by the league that they are likely to not provide coverage for the individual claims, so it would fall on the city. Continuing it for 90 days, the facts are not going to necessarily change. My recommendation to you would be to conduct the hearing, ask Councilmember James for anything she wishes to state with respect to the position made by the manager, and then act upon it. But that is up to council entirely.
Okay. Councilman James, we've heard that, and of course, that'll be considered. Is there anything else you would like to bring forward?
No, not this time, because it needs
Okay.
to be continued for 90 days.
All right, Mr. Barnes, is there anything further for you, sir?
No, I think my statement was pretty clear. In her capacity as a council member, those claims would be covered if that's deemed by the league. In her capacity as an individual, I would not recommend that council cover those claims or fees due to the three items I listed.
And I have a question. How are those separated from her being a council member and her individual? Because as far as, from what I've understood, she wasn't in a meeting or anything like that. And if that's not the case, because we're all council members for 4 years, so how are they separated from being a council member and being individual?
Mayor, if I might answer this.
Yes, sure.
What we have been advised by the attorney for the officers is that during the September 9 and 10 incidents, and then incidents following, Councilmember James clearly identified herself as a council member and stated she was taking actions in her role as a council member.
Okay.
That is why they believe that is why they will pursue claims against her in her representative capacity. That ends up being an issue for the courts to determine, to sort out what claims are individual, what claims are representative. And what we have not heard is anything clearly stated from anyone other than their attorneys saying there are some claims here that are done in a purely individual capacity and not as a council member. But again, the body camera videos do show the council member acting perhaps with the belief that she was acting in her authority as a city council member.
It's a lot of gray areas, just that statement, when you said that she was acting, believing that she was acting as the city council, that's just so confusing.
It is, however, what they have stated, and it is, however, also a reasonable interpretation that can be made based on a review of the videos.
And their interpretation of how she was acting as a council member or as an individual.
Well, based on the statements that she made during that is what they have advised us.
Okay.
And we recognize that would be an issue for the courts. However, the council has to make the decision, especially if coverage is not provided for any individual claims. If a lawsuit is filed and they pursue claims, that decision has to be made at that point. That we're seeing this as the decision needs to be made. At this point, I understand Councilmember James has requested it be held out for 90 days. That's a matter for council. The only question is what will change in that 90-day period. That is a determination you must make as a council.
Okay, any other questions before I ask,
We need to vote first on the extension or not. in 90 days.
There's not a motion on the floor for that.
I
I
think
do have
we need to.
I have a question
Somebody
for
got that.
Councilmember James. Is there any other information that you're going to present in the 90 days that's different?
Yeah, once I consult a council to give me legal advice on what direction to go in.
But your request is so you can retain counsel.
Correct.
Okay. Then I will make a motion to extend it for 90 days while she obtains legal representation.
I'll second that.
Mayor, you may ask for discussion on the motion and then, of course, a vote if you wish.
okay, I'll ask for discussion, but do you have anything for that?
I think I've noted that the facts are what they are. The interim manager provided earlier this month the letter that stated that he was making a particular recommendation. I believe that was on the 4th of November. So we are now at the 17th of November, and there would have been time in the meantime to retain counsel, but that is, of course, whether or not you decide this matter today or in 90 days is council's decision. I'm not sure what would honestly change in that 90-day period, but that is a matter for council.
All right, I have a motion and I have a second. Any other discussion?
Before we
Yes.
vote, I don't dispute any of the facts, and I don't know what will happen in 90 days, but if Councilwoman James has not attained legal representation, I think that she should.
Has she been advised by anybody to get her?
We have on several occasions requested that Councilmember James identify if she has retained an attorney. And when the letter came on October the 20th, we provided it to her first before providing it to any of you.
I personally don't know whatever her situation is,
Right.
why she did or did not attain an attorney, and it's not for me to say. But if I put myself in that position, I would I would want to have someone to represent me.
Now, did she know that this was gonna happen today?
Yes, that was, the manager stated that he would be requesting a hearing before council. I think the when was, I think when the agenda came out, I don't know if
Right.
there was anything, but I think actually the notice was modified. However, the notice, because remember, this hearing was originally for one item, which was the rezoning that you've continued to January. And then it added this and the
Interlocal.
economic development one and a potential closed session. The closed session ended up off the agenda, the rezoning ended up off, so it's when the special notice was modified, I believe council was advised at that time. I'll defer to the clerk and the interim manager, but my recollection is, as the changes took place, council was notified these would be the items on, as part of the special notice, because the special notice had to be amended.
And that was Friday when it was notified, so not enough time. And in that process, I've been trying to get legal counsel, so not enough time.
Okay, we're ready. Any other discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
Now, there is a hearing on December 13th, correct?
No, ma'am. There's no hearing on December 13th.
The council meeting.
Oh, but I thought we got an email saying,
The A motion hearing?
No, ma'am, there's no A motion hearing on the 13th. The A motion hearing is likely to be in, we were targeting for December, but we believe in order to make sure that it's possible in December, the next council will consider the rules and procedures, but there is no hearing. Any hearing is likely to be in January.
okay, so that's what 60 days?
Yes, ma'am, but that's for A motion. That has nothing to do with the lawsuit that is at issue here. This has nothing to do with A motion. In an A motion proceeding, the city would not be providing a defense or counsel for Councilmember James. The A motion process is entirely separate. This is related to the lawsuit that could be filed by the 5 officers that are represented by Mr. Leitner.
So the two are separate.
Okay.
Okay, anyone else have anything? If not, I'll be calling, I'll have a motion a second to extend it for 90 days. All in favor of the extending it for 90 days, raise your hand. I'm
So
sorry.
we are extending the time so she can get legal counsel.
That's what she's asking, and that's what we voted
I
on,
believe that's what your motion
for the
is.
extension.
That's correct.
Okay,
And if Councilwoman James should secure legal counsel prior to then, would it come out of the 90-day period?
Well, it would be up to, if we are advised that she has retained an attorney and the attorney is ready to represent her with respect to the hearing on the manager's decision to not pay for the claims or defenses related at an individual level, that could be up to council, if not this council, the next, to hold the hearing sooner if Councilmember James and her attorney, if she retains one, agrees.
okay.
But this motion is solely to, this will delay the hearing for an additional 90 days. The conclusion of this hearing, because at the end, the manager has presented the perspective. Councilmember James has not requesting the 90 days. So what would happen is that when you get back, she would then present what she did not present today. So,
All right, anyone else have anything before I call for a vote? Hearing none, I'm gonna call for the vote. All in favor of extending it 90 days, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3. All in favor of,
actually, I believe, that's right. Councilmember James has recused herself and Mayor Pro Tem Holloway
Will.
voted in favor, I believe.
again, in favor of continuing for 90 days, raise your hand, let's get a count.
That
1,
was,
2,
yes,
3.
that was Councilmember McGee, Councilmember Anthony, and Mayor Pro Tem Holloway.
All opposed of council for 90 days, raise your hand, 1, 2, 3. Tied up.
So it's-
However, the motion fails because it's a tie. So unless one member changes their vote, it is, you now still are back at, you have to act upon this
Okay,
because the motion failed.
Okay, so, but all we were voting on was giving an additional time to find a
Additional
lawyer.
time to present
It's
her.
very confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'd asked for a 90-day stay, is what they were voting on. You call
Okay.
it?
That's what, well, the thing is, that's what, but it was a 3-3 vote because she is not voting on any of the items
Right.
because of the financial impact.
Right.
So in that case, that now fails, so either you can you
So
can.
we don't want to let her get an attorney.
No, sir, I'm not gonna assume what the members that voted
I'm
in
actually talking to
opposition.
our councilman.
I would just say, but I'm just gonna point out, I'm not assuming it, and
Right,
I don't know
I'm
if it's fair
talking
for
to my
anyone.
co-council members that voted no, we don't want to allow her to.
No, I don't have a problem with her getting her attorney, but I've been told, now I don't know where it's right or not, I've been told, she's been told several times to get an attorney or tell who her attorney is, so her attorney can talk with the attorney and be sure all the dates and stuff set up. If that's correct,
But the thing is, you just put this on Friday, so we get notification on Friday that this was gonna be put on?
well, let me ask you again,
So
again.
that's the thing.
Okay.
Timing of when this was done is
Right.
unfair.
Well, I definitely
Okay.
want to be fair.
Okay, so Lynn and Gordon, I guess you have to look at y'all two council members to change y'all vote.
Let me ask you, when did you first understand you need to get a lawyer?
Did you tell her?
I really wasn't sure how this was gonna go down, like, what this hearing was for. I'm saying, it's not understood. I'm saying the communication was through an email. It was through an email. And then he sent the letter. He never picked up the phone to call to explain the process. So I'm saying it was never understood how this was gonna be. I didn't know this was gonna be open like this.
Councilman James, did the city attorney ever tell you or ask you to have your attorney or tell him your attorney so the attorneys could talk about this and you refused to give him?
No, I didn't refuse.
Or you just didn't give it to him?
No, I don't have an attorney, so how can I give him something I don't have?
Well,
Yeah,
you
so that's the
couldn't.
thing.
Well, you couldn't.
Yeah,
But-
exactly.
But I would have thought that you would have told him
No,
that.
I couldn't. He told me to get in contact with him when I notified one.
Oh,
So
okay.
therefore,
Okay.
I haven't, so therefore there's been no communication.
All right.
So that's what's been understood.
And you hadn't thought all this time that you needed an attorney?
I didn't know it was gonna be in the setup. I thought it was gonna be in his office. Again, there was no communication how this process was gonna be handled.
Okay,
So again, the understanding was incomplete.
all right,
Yeah.
okay. What do you want to do, another vote?
It's up to-
Does anybody want to change their vote? I don't have a problem.
No. I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, I'll take a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the recommendation of the interim city manager to not defend or pay any amounts due related to individual claim against Councilmember Angelia Nicole James that arose following the incident that took place on September the 9th and 10th, 2021.
All right,
Now,
I
what
have a
does that
motion.
mean? I just want to be very clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Any duty, anything any council person does as part of their duties is covered.
If it's in their capacity as a city council member, yes. So for example, if you are named in a lawsuit related to an action you've taken up here at the dais, that's the easiest example, you would be covered under the policy. But again, it's whether or not there's an individual claim. If someone makes a claim saying you were not acting in your capacity, you were freelancing essentially, that's where this policy comes into play.
So if I walk outside this door and I'm giving a hypothetical because I really want to understand and make a correct decision. If I walk out this door and I bumped into a citizen, they fell down and hurt themselves, and they sued me, I'd be on my own.
Yes, ma'am, because if it's not in conjunction with city council business, perhaps, but if you made a request for, would the city provide a defense, that would be then something the manager would make an investigation of, make a recommendation to council would hold the hearing, so you do the same thing you're doing today.
So I guess that's where I'm confused
Yeah.
because you said that she has to be behind the dais, but obviously
No.
she wasn't.
That was an example.
Well, you made an example, so she wasn't, and then out in the public or whatever, because she said that, because she considered herself to be council member James, that's her acting as a council member?
Well,
Because that's a title.
in the video, she the videos, and I think everyone at the dais has watched them, there were many times that she made sure to refer to herself as Councilmember James. And in fact, I believe one quote where suggesting that a police officer should respect the authority she had as a council member. So those kind of statements give rise to an inference of the possibility the person is acting in, or someone could assume they're acting in that capacity. So the example of at the dais, that's the easy example. It starts to get a little different when you deal with the other. But that being said, it's ultimately going to be a decision of insurance carriers and courts as to what claims are individual and what claims are representative. But the process that is in this resolution requires the manager to make a recommendation and then you to make a decision.
But you just, clarity again,
Yes, ma'am.
the final decision will be up to the insurance carrier.
Well, in terms of the representative, I mean, in terms of the individual claims, if the city is asked to provide a defense, it's up to them. I will, however, note that in discussions with the Director of Risk Management Services, who oversees the IRFNIC fund, the indication would be there would not be coverage under our policy for individual claims. So it really then falls to, if there's a request for the city to pay for any individual claims, then attorney, or any judgment in the individual capacity of the council member, it would only be on the city, because RMS has indicated they would not provide coverage.
Okay, this is my last question. It
Yes, ma'am.
may sound silly or stupid to somebody, but I want to be fair.
There are no stupid questions,
And,
council member.
yeah, there are stupid questions, but if I were at CRTPO meeting in Charlotte, I'm there as a representative for the city. So what transpires there while I'm there, I'd be covered. Say, if I was across the street at a restaurant, I'm still a city council person, but I'm not acting in that capacity. I would not be covered.
Given the way you've laid out both hypotheticals, you would be correct. But if there were other facts, for example, if there's something you did during crossing the street, the restaurant, or at the restaurant, that could change that would be, but let's say you're just crossing the street and there's nobody else there and you accidentally, you're driving and you hit somebody in a car, or that's different, as long as it's not connected at all to council business. But then if you're at the CRPTO meeting, then if something happens there, there's more of an argument that you would be covered and it would be more of an in your representative capacity.
It's a little clear to me now.
Trust me, insurance coverage drives people crazy. That's one of the reasons why I never specialize that in my private practice.
And I have one more question too, just
Yes, sir.
this is hypothetical too. So say if I am not acting as a council member, however, there's a situation that comes up where an individual responds to me in that way, like if I'm out in the restaurant and somebody attacks me based on the fact that I said something at a meeting that they didn't like and I defend myself or whatever the case, how does that work? Is that a situation where the city would cover me if something like that would occur?
To the extent any of it is then seen as in your representative capacity, because if you're there and they are attacking you because of something you did as a council member, and you respond, let's say you say something back to them, but it's entirely civil, that may be a case where you're provided coverage in your representative capacity. It depends on if they sue you in your individual capacity. That's when there would be a fact-specific analysis, because it's more of in your individual capacity, you're not going to usually receive coverage. In your representative capacity, you'll receive coverage if the insurance carrier is providing it. So, but it is, insurance coverage is a thorny issue.
It is tricky. Okay. That's good to know though, just moving forward, just so you can understand how that works.
Sure.
Council, have any other discussion? I have a motion on the floor, from Mr. Gordon. Do I have a second on it, or did you hear it?
Can we restate the motion?
Would you?
Yes, sir. I, Councilmember Freddie Gordon, make the motion to approve the recommendation of the interim city manager to not defend or pay any amounts due related to the individual claims against Councilmember Angelia Nicole James that arose following incidents that took place on September the 9th and 10th of 2021 and after.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Are there any discussion on this?
One question.
All right.
I understand the first actions in September. I understand not providing coverage for that. But why is that other part and after? Because after she was not involved with police officers or anybody.
Actually, during the conversations we've had with the attorney representing the officers, they believe that they have also claims that are related to press conferences given by Councilmember James afterwards as well. For example, there were, I think, at least 2 press conferences and then a media interview that were given that were streamed on her Facebook Live. So those, they also believe, give rise to claims. That's why the and after comes into play as well. And also statements made since then as well.
So this is just the individual claims, not the representative claims?
That's
Okay, I
correct. This is
understand.
only the individual claims.
Okay.
If they pursue individual claims, and, that's, what this is dealing with. Not the representative claims. This is not to say in the role as council member, and if it is wholly seen as in the role of council member, that's something that coverage would likely be provided for.
Okay.
But if
clear
those,
now.
but if the actions are seen as an individual capacity, they would not be covered.
Okay.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion? All opposed?
It's 6-0.
6-0, okay. Now, we gotta go back to this, first motion, where we, 3 and 3.
No, actually, you don't now.
No, that's dead.
Since there's no action on that, you move to the
Okay.
second action, so you've done.
All right. That's the last thing on the calendar, right?
Yes,
And
sir.
let me say, ladies and gentlemen, council member, lay the package at your desk, you probably already know. It's got a date on there, November the 22nd. Reggie, if I understand that right, that's when Ms. Deborah wanted this back on the 22nd, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Would y'all please get this back in for the 22nd, to either Deborah, or get it back to Bridget, please. It's a time-consuming thing. We really need to get this done. If you will, please get it back in by the 22nd so we can get this done on the time frame. Thank you very much. Are there anything else?
The
Yes,
meeting on the 6th, will it be in council chambers?
I'm sorry.
Will the meeting on December 6th be in
Yes.
council chambers?
No, it's gonna be,
Conference room.
In the conference
There's a
room?
prior meeting in here.
Okay.
yeah, we'll meet in the conference room, the chamber.
Look, I need to
We'll
mess
be,
up, I don't know.
we tied up. We'll meet on December 6th.
Their staff.
If there's no other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Actually, Mayor, one last thing, and staff just wants to note this because it's the last meeting that you have scheduled, except for perhaps the December 6th meeting, that the public may actually be looking at on YouTube. We want to thank several of you. We talked about this at the last meeting, but I think the cameras are off. So I think, again, from a staff perspective, we want to thank and congratulate the mayor for his years of service to the city of Monroe. Thank and congratulate council members McGee and Anthony for their years of service to the city of Monroe. So we just want to make sure that when folks can see this on camera, if they're looking at the YouTube, that they hear that we have appreciated their work on behalf of the city. Thank you all, and we know we'll still see you for at least another meeting or so, but thank you.
No watch?
Do what? Do I have a motion to adjourn? I have a motion, a second, all in favor? We adjourn. Thank you.